to the third plenary session. A person from Indonesia, lecturer in the Islamic Accounting Department, Faculty of Economics and Islamic Business. We all are excited to hear your valuable talk, ma'am. I would like to welcome Tri Nadela to this scenario.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much, Miss Moderator. So, good afternoon, everyone from Indonesia. And thank you so much for having me in this international conference. Okay, so to make effective time, I will to share my paper. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, can you see the slide, Miss?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Right, so I will present about the restoration micro, small, and medium enterprises in the midst of pandemic. Yeah. So this is my short biography. By the way, I'm a lecturer in the State Islamic Institute of Loksmawe, Aceh. Aceh is one province of in Indonesia. Right. So we can just about the introduction. Yeah, the COVID-19 is the we can to enter third year. By the way, yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to shift and change in consumer purchasing patterns. Usually, even though there are online sales, many consumers still buy products directly to shop or shopping centers. But now, because there are restriction and government regulation not to leave the house, consumer automatically do not allow it to stay outside the house from a long time. Yeah, and as information that in Indonesia, the government a few days ago is to make some policy. Yeah, we have to eat if we want to eat in the restaurant. We have only 20 minutes, but I don't know exactly about the applicant is this effective or not. But it is as we know that the government try to encourage the people to stay at home. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about the micro and medium, small, and micro enterprises. Okay, the economy relies heavily micro, small, and medium enterprises, and their role in the economy are special significant because that they have made significant contribute to creativity, economic competitiveness, yeah, equity and redistribution and working condition. As we know that in Indonesia, when the crisis in 19 and 1998, yeah, the survive in the business it is MSME to help the economy in Indonesia. Okay, so as we know that for the COVID-19 pandemic, that as we know, the business is not to focus on the profit. May they focus on survive, how they can survive COVID-19 because that everything about the what we call in English, yeah, purchasing power, the people is getting lower. Okay. So this factor include that the rate of recovery, government intervention and policies, purchasing habits and their effect on business sustainability, the formation of new enterprises, human capital expenditure, and other medium and long-term factors that influence productivity. So we can see that their size, nature, and enterprise and company like market challenges, fast moving and unstable environment. As we know that when we come to the company that to make sure that not make sure that to adapt the situation fast moving. Yeah, for example, like the people before the COVID-19, as we know that the people in Indonesia, yeah, buy something via internet, not go to shop. Okay, and then development of digital platform, that's MSMEs in Indonesia. Digital platform Indonesia since 8 years ago. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I just continue because the signal. Okay, I just to continue my present. So the COVID-19 outbreak spread around the world, including Indonesia. So people have been forced to quickly adjust to new circumstances and behavior, new normal. Yeah, before the COVID-19 in Indonesia, about the digital platform is still growing up. And then when the COVID-19 coming in the Indonesia, so digital platform is a very, very necessary now for the people. Okay. Next, the digital practice become part of the people everyday life. Yeah, we can live without the pocket, but we cannot live without the smartphone. Yeah. So okay, in the current area, the COVID-19 pandemic, a digital platform could be the best solution for assisting small and medium business in maintaining their operation running. Because that for now, as we know that each person only that tax your smartphone, you can buy anything what you need. Yeah, as long as that you have a money, by the way. Okay, so we can come back to e-marketing and picture the picture like it's a COVID-19 pandemic, economic crisis. Yeah, we have the business continuity. So how to make the business continuity? We need that defense strategy. It's like in marketing and marketplace. Okay, next slide. In Indonesia, we have that. Yes, in Indonesia, we have that want to seek a marketplace. Yeah, seek marketplace in Indonesia like Bukalapak, Tokopedia, Toko Modern Facebook, Kaskus, Shopee. There are so many marketplaces in Indonesia. So that most use social media platform like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp. Yeah, there is a most used social media platform in Indonesia. So the seller of the uh, MXM enterprises can use that the media. Okay. By the way, the method is qualitative method. Yeah, qualitative method, and then I try to documentation technique, which collect data from various different sources, make some interview, and the businessman. Okay, so e-commerce, so that we know e-commerce in e-commerce due to implementation of the street street people to get activity during the COVID-19 pandemic, direct sales also clear drop. People prefer to stay at home. In this regard, one strategy is to expand the network through e-commerce transaction. Uh, excuse me, Miss, can you see the slide, by the way? Okay. Hello, Miss. Okay. Hopefully that you can see my slide, yeah? Hello?
Ma'am, now
No.
it's not working.
It's okay. Okay. I try to continue because I want to make sure that my slide is available. Okay. I try to next my slide. Okay. If some offside will be finished. Right. Okay. Let's talk about result e-commerce due to implementation of the restriction COVID-19. Yeah. In the regard, one strategy is to expand the network through e-commerce transaction. So allowing to MSEs to continue operating while attracting a large number of customers and expanding market share. So that the edge of a traditional revolution 4.0 due to shift customer consumption habits and the COVID-19 pandemic. So making e-commerce the right option, yeah, to survive. So like I say before that today the businessman is not focused profit, but they focus on to, yeah. As we know that the business is very can get profit is like telecommunication company, but in other company general hard to get survive. Okay, so digital marketing that the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in the number of customer areas of sector. Yeah, it's like the rapid growth of the digital something that cannot be avoided at this point. So how to the businessman in Indonesia, especially the sector micro, has to make adapt. Yeah, and then hopefully that the government can be to give facilities so that they can survive in the pandemic era. Okay, this is some strategy, yeah, like produce product video on social media, create marketing product video for social media marketing, yeah, like platform YouTube, yeah, YouTube that is one of very easier and cheaper, and then involve customer in product selection and doing digital marketing. Okay, so I think that some of the strategy that can we can to develop in micro sector in Indonesia. So we can take conclusion. Yeah, many businesses, including the sector, MSCMS industry, have suffered the consequence of the corona pandemic. So supply chains have been disrupted, manufacturing capacity has been limited, though, so factories have been closed, and travel ban have been imposed as a result of COVID-19. Motivate started small and medium enterprises to survive the COVID-19 pandemic and find ways to restore stability, yeah, so that the sector is a very COVID-19 is like something like is the part like a business entertainment, like pariwisata, yeah. And then it's hoped that authorized government will continue to provide education to business actors in the form of socialization of training. Okay, so building the MSMS communication network so that they are easy to monitor and improve micro enterprise skills. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you so much. So I back to the moderator. Okay, thank you. Terima kasih. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your nice presentation on researching micro, small, and medium enterprises in the midst of pandemic. And also, you gave a detailed description about the e-commerce in the present scenario. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, ma'am. Now we're moving on to the fourth resource person. A person from Malaysia, head of the Department of Planning, Research and Innovation, Institute of Teacher Education Hippocampus. She graduated from University of York in 2015 and also qualified to teach curriculums related subjects, entrepreneurial educations and research methodologies. Her vast experiences in corporate culture, banking and education had given her opportunities to learn more on entrepreneurial skills and mindset, and also management as well. She had few publications and had presented her research paper locally and internationally. She has also involved in many innovations, competitions and won several awards. I would like to welcome Munira Hamid to this platform. Welcome you, ma'am.
Hi, hello. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
All right, thank you. A very good evening and thank you to the chairperson. Okay, first of all, I would like to say my appreciation to the organizing committee for giving me the opportunity to share my presentation. And my gratitude goes to all the organizers. And I would also like to express my gratitude to my colleague, Dr. Ganesan Shanmugavelu, who had motivated me to share what I have and my experiences with the talk today. And not forgetting all the participants who had joining us in this lovely evening. Okay, I am asking for the permission to present my slides first, yeah? Okay, wait. Oops. So, just give me a few minutes. Sorry. All right. Okay. Let me start my presentation with guiding you with the structure of today's presentation. My name is Munira Abdul Hamid, and I am a lecturer and also a head of department from Planning Research and Institution Innovation Department. Okay. I would first start with sharing some basic concept of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education. This will be a very simple sharing just to give some light to those who are not familiar with the concept. Then I will explain on how Malaysia education system works. This again, just to share some ideas on how education systems are in Malaysia. And I believe some of you might have read or heard about our system, but for the sake of this presentation, I will just share very basic information. Then I will touch on entrepreneurship education in Malaysia. This again to explain how this particular subject has gained interest in education system in Malaysia. After that, after explaining all the basic concept, I will guide you through some of my earlier work on entrepreneurship education in Malaysia. And I will share my findings on the research that I had carried out when entrepreneurship was introduced in primary school as a cross-curricular element. Okay, let me move to the another slides. Right. Okay, some basic definition on entrepreneur. For many scholars have been defining the word entrepreneur for a very long time. Among the earliest definition was that given by Richard Cantillon, an Irish economist who defined an entrepreneur as an individual who is rational decision maker who assumes risk and provides management for the firm. The word entrepreneur itself derived from a French word entreprendre, which means to undertake or to embark upon. Shefke defined entrepreneur as someone who enters the business world, no matter in what form of business and at what time, and try to form or change substantially that business nerve center. Okay, he emphasized that for an entrepreneur, what matters is the development of changes that are brought to the business and not how the business was obtained or the size of it. Entrepreneurs are usually associated with economic and social activities of a nation and are said to be one of the main contributors to the development of an economy. Just to check whether my slides is moving or not. It's moving, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. Entrepreneurs always contribute to growth through their good qualities and abilities, such as a good leadership, management, innovation, research and development effectiveness, job creation, competitiveness, productivity, and formation of new industry. This is according to Kuratko and Hodges 2007. And from the literature, an entrepreneur could be defined as a person who runs his own business and uses all the good traits and qualities together with endless effort to expand the business, and these provide employment opportunities and contributes to the development of the economy through the payment of taxes and by undertaking social responsibilities. Okay, can this be taught? There has been much discussion about developing entrepreneur and the fundamental issue in entrepreneurship education, whether it could be taught or not. Okay, many entrepreneurs come from a very different background. Some seems to be gifted with entrepreneurial talent and some are not. But most scholars argue that it can be taught. Okay, Kuratko claimed that the entrepreneurial perspective can be taught, and that combined with the right characteristic can can become a special perspective that permeates entrepreneurs. And Lewis and Massey claim that individuals can be more enterprising and can become job creators or job seekers if the right skills are developed in them. And Mayers, he argued that experiences should be given to students to assist them in the development of entrepreneurial skill. Peter Drucker, he is the gurus of entrepreneurship. He said that entrepreneurship is not a magical, mysterious quality, but a discipline that can be learned. Okay, from the literature discussed above, it could be suggested that in most cases, entrepreneurs are not born, and the entrepreneurship in them is not inherited. Nevertheless, it could be developed through many ways that involve education, exposure, and experiences. It is safe to assume that anyone can be entrepreneur and not necessarily those who were born into a family business. An entrepreneur is not born but can exist with other factors such as enough capital to run a business. And as for Malaysia, our government had decided that this entrepreneurship could be taught, and a measurement were taken to instill it in our education system. Okay, now let me go to explain the teaching of entrepreneurship at early age. Okay, teaching of this entrepreneurship at early age is not impossible because this gives them right and exposure and can generate interest and instill the culture of entrepreneurship in them. And a good curriculum will help this to become a reality. And if the entrepreneurship education curriculum is constructed correctly, this will create entrepreneurs who can handle their life and world surrounding them. Okay, and according to Curry and Stora, there are three broad objectives of enterprise education. Okay, some countries call it enterprise education and some call it entrepreneurship education. For the sake of this presentation, I would use entrepreneurship education. The objective has like education through enterprise, education about enterprise, and education for enterprise. Clearly, there are differences in the objective where different age groups are concerned. Curry and Storer emphasized that the enterprise scheme starts with an emphasis on education through enterprise, where enterprise is used as a vehicle for young people to develop numeracy and communication skills, as well as a wide range of interpersonal skills. And Obstronka reported that if adolescents were given entrepreneurship skill at an earlier stage, this would have positive impact for them to venture into a business career later in life. And Kurulski and Wallstead studies, they studied 1,001 entrepreneurs of high technology business, and they suggested that giving students earlier exposure in school in technology field would give them advantage. This could benefit them and could probably interest them to become entrepreneur in the high-tech field. Okay, and Abdul Aziz, 2009, suggested that entrepreneurship education should be a continuous process from a primary school to a secondary school and then on to upper secondary school. At all these levels, student interest in entrepreneurship should be refined so that when they leave the schools, they are mature, responsible, and prepared to continue with their studies at the tertiary level. In light of this, it could be concluded that exposure to entrepreneurship education should be given at the early stage. Okay, earlier I have explained about entrepreneur, but now I go to the definition and concept of entrepreneurship education. Okay, this is widely taught in most countries and receives special attention in developed and developing countries. Many business schools are now offering entrepreneurship entrepreneurship courses for their undergraduate and graduate students. And according to Blankflower and Oswald, one of the reasons that government take an interest in developing entrepreneurship is because they assume that the small businesses owned by entrepreneur can be a good source of employment. Entrepreneurship also create wealth, contribute to industrialization and a nation's economic growth. Okay, and according to Hines, the use of this education in all future academics program in schools, universities, and college will ensure the acceptance of it in the academic field. Garavan and Osenite argued that entrepreneurship education and training programs are aimed at producing entrepreneurs, and that for them to be effective, they have to be taught from more than what is done in the classroom. They argued that molding on entrepreneur needs more than teaching of theories and skill. It has to go further than that. The best route is to give them experience through simulation or practical training. Okay, enough with the theoretical. We go to education system in Malaysia. I would just give a brief, a very simple view of education system in Malaysia. Okay, this education system is categorized into 5 levels. The first one is preschool education, then primary school education, secondary education, pre-tertiary and a tertiary education. This system provides basic education at preschool and primary school level, whilst more comprehensive and specific knowledge is taught in secondary school. It is compulsory for our students to attend 11 years of schooling in Malaysia, which 6 years in primary school and another 5 years in secondary school. And for higher education, it is not compulsory, as it is an option for students either to enter any further education level or not. Okay. Let's say if the students want to pursue their studies in higher level of education, so many options are given to them. They can enter the public or private universities, colleges, skill center, or even the teacher training education like us. Okay, next. Entrepreneurship education in Malaysia. Entrepreneurship education development in Malaysia, a discussion about entrepreneurship began in the 1970s in Malaysia after the National Economic Policies was introduced. The NEP, which I call NEP, aims of eradicating poverty and restructuring the economy contributed significantly to the development of entrepreneurship in Malaysia. Although it did not achieve its target of increasing the Bumiputra's ownership to 30%, this was the starting point of seeing rising numbers of entrepreneurs in the country. I bet many would ask, what is Bumiputra? The word Bumiputra is from the Sanskrit Bumiputra. In Malay, it translates literally as son of the earth. There is no single definition on who constitute a Bumiputra and who does not. But generally, it is used to define Malays and other indigenous people, such as the Ibans, Sarawakians, Bahan. Politically, however, if it often used synonymously with Malay. And Malaysian National Economic Consultative Council report in 1991, it shows that a large number of Bumiputra entrepreneurs were still depending on government projects and they still needed support with financing, space and subsidies. To address this, the government introduced the National Police Development Policy in 1990. This plan gave priority to instilling and developing entrepreneurship culture and the implementation of young entrepreneurship in schools all over the country. And to facilitate this, the Ministry of Entrepreneur and Cooperative Development was established in order to monitor the entrepreneur development. Okay, realizing the importance of entrepreneurship, the government created many opportunities for it to be developed. Through various programs and policies, this field is expected to grow. And the National Development Policy has the overall goal of increasing people's quality life. One of the strategies is to emphasize the entrepreneurship field so that it can contribute to developing the economy and assist in achieving the proposed aim. Fostering this culture in the Malaysian education is not a new approach. The integration of this entrepreneurship and business education into the education system in Malaysia had started in 1968 when a small-scale cooperative were introduced in schools. The main activity of these cooperatives was selling items only to the school resident, and this was hoped to expose the students to basic business principles. Various efforts has been taken to develop an entrepreneurial culture. Okay, the Malaysian Ministry of Education has taken action to instill entrepreneurship as part of the curriculum in schools. The earlier exposure to this was achieved by introducing the element into mathematics, and this was followed by introducing the integrated living skills subject into the secondary school curriculum in 1991. Students were given an option in upper secondary school to choose a subject of commerce and entrepreneurship from a selection of vocational and elective subjects. In our school, we have this vocational subject, we have elective subjects, and students are free to choose. They also were offered subjects such as economics and business studies. Okay, there was also a young entrepreneur program offered in secondary school as informal learning intended to foster an entrepreneurial spirit in students. It was introduced in 1989 and run by the National Entrepreneurship Education. Its intention was to give exposure and experience to secondary school students on the establishment and dissolution of company based on the cooperative model. Students were involved on the hands-on training program for 9 months, and at the end of which they presented the year-end profit and loss account of their company. All right, in our primary schools, this exposure was given as early as 1984 under the previous curriculum, which we call the new curriculum for primary school. It was introduced in 1982 as a part of mathematics and was called a commerce practice. The KBSR student in level 1 were required to conduct a role play activity or simulation lasting 30 minutes once a week. The purpose of this was to expose the students to commercial aspect from an early stage, thus foster an interest in business. Okay, how we incorporate this element in the new primary school curriculum through cross-curricular element. Okay, our minister has introduced a new curriculum for primary school in Malaysia in 2011, and a cross-curricular element will instill into this year 1 new curriculum. The idea of this is it's not a new element in the curriculum in Malaysia. It has been installed in the curriculum since 1998 when the ministry introduced environmental education as a cross-curricular element in primary and secondary school. Okay, historically, this term, the cross-curricular element in the primary school curriculum dates back to 1983 when the Ministry of Education announced the incorporation of moral value into the KBSR curriculum. 16 moral values were introduced and they had to be integrated into all subjects as a cross-curricular element. Even today, these morals values are instilled, being infused into the curriculum through this method. Okay, according to Hayes, the cross-curricular technique is known as curriculum integration. And Parker suggested that cross-curricular education combines aspects such as knowledge, perspective, and method from other disciplines and is used to develop deeper ideas on certain issues. Okay, as this was taken from the UK National Curriculum Council, they emphasized that cross-curricular elements are integral part of what is needed to meet the requirement of the Education Reform Act. So it could be argued that all these definitions given above stress the integration or incorporation of more than one element or subject in the curriculum. In implementing this element, it is important for the school administrator to understand the implementation and the importance of it. Sound guidelines, really help with the execution of this element. In the Malaysian curriculum, there are existing elements which are being used as cross-curricular element in both primary and secondary schools. In both primary and secondary schools curriculum, and they include language, science and technology, environmental education, moral values, and patriotism. These elements are part of the curriculum and are still being used even after the ministry introduced the new KSSR curriculum in primary school. With the new curriculum introduced in 2011, the ministry added 3 more elements into the curriculum, one of which is entrepreneurship element. This element was added as a complementary effort to enhance the quality of the implementation of the new curriculum. Okay, the application of this entrepreneurship element, which I call E element, had to be implemented as early as year 1 so that students can adopt an entrepreneurial attitude, embrace the mindset towards producing and generating ideas, acquire basic knowledge and skill in a business context, produce product based on technology and vocational skills, and have moral conduct with high ethical values. These qualities are to be achieved through the relevant topics in all the subjects taught in classes. Okay, the implementation of the new E element into the new curriculum would not be successful without the help of high quality and committed teachers. Teachers are expected to be committed and play important and varied roles when they are in schools. To teach this cross-curricular curriculum effectively, teacher needs to possess particular skills, especially teaching skills such as class management skills, explaining skills, questioning skills, task setting skills, and assessment skills. Okay, the implementation of this E element, there are 5 elements that were outlined by the Ministry of Education. The first one, to adopt an entrepreneurship attitude. Second, to embrace the mindset toward the entrepreneurship in situations that are required. Third, to practice basic buying and selling management. Fourth, producing knowledge-based products and technology and vocational skills-based product. And the last one, to practice moral values and ethics according to the entrepreneurship context. Okay, teachers are allowed to choose any element to include in any topic of their teaching and learning activities as long as they think the element suits the topic that they want to teach for that day. There are 3 techniques that teacher can use to incorporate this element in their classroom. The first is the mixing approach, which teachers are given the freedom to choose the approach and that they want to use. And their choices depend on the activity and the time of the teaching and learning in the day. The second method is the integration method, which can be used in the topic for that day. If the topic for that day is not related and not suitable for the entrepreneurship element. However, in between the activities, teacher can apply any element of the entrepreneurship by getting the views of people in relevant situation. And the last method is the application approach, in which the teaching and learning activities are carried out as planned by the teacher. But after the teaching objective have been achieved, a teacher can apply the learning outcomes to any relevant entrepreneurial element, and this application can be implemented by linking what has been learned that day with real entrepreneurial situation. Okay, the application of this entrepreneurship education should be done continuously. The ministry plan is to instill this element until the student finish their schooling term at the end of Form 5. It need to be inculcated for 11 years, starting from year 1 until they finish in their secondary school in Form 5. So it's a long-term plan, and within this time frame, changes in student attitude can be seen. To assess that, the MOE developed indicators to test the changes in student. These indicators are based on the element that teachers have instilled and can be used to evaluate effectiveness. In summary, the Malaysian government reformed primary school education in 2011. A new curriculum was introduced and entrepreneurship education was promoted as a cross-curricular element as part of the reform. And due to its special features and the contribution which it can make to nation building and economic growth, entrepreneurship education has now become widely accepted and is taught in many countries, including Malaysia. There is a consistent argument in the literature that entrepreneurship education can be taught and that the learning objective should be varied to cater for different education target group. In Malaysian case, entrepreneur education was introduced to develop pupils' entrepreneurial attitudes and culture, and this target was manifested through curriculum reform. Okay, enough with all this concept and definition. I would like to just share a bit of my research that I have done on the research title entitled Entrepreneurship Education, the implementation in Year 1 primary schools curriculum in Malaysia. This is an exploratory case study research because it explores the perceptions of various group of people during the implementation of the entrepreneurship element in the Year 1 curriculum in Malaysian primary school. And the main aim of my research is to identify key respondent perceptions and opinions of the implementation. This research, the respondent of this research are 5 different groups of curriculum officers, head teachers, expert teachers, teachers and trainers, and subject teachers. I use semi-structured interviews because it's more flexible, and all the data obtained were transcribed, translated, analyzed, and examined in depth using the thematic analysis. Okay, the findings. I am sharing with you 2 findings. The first one is contrasting perception between the respondent and the ministry. What I can see is that there are a contrast perception between the respondent and the ministry. It shows that the teachers and head teachers had the idea that entrepreneurship education is directed toward business-related activities. And in this case study, when the respondent talk about selling and buying items and generating income, it appears that this activity were more associated with business education than the entrepreneurship education. The discussion during the interviews revealed that the respondents primarily talk about and give example of activities related to business when they define entrepreneurship education. It appears that none of them really define entrepreneurship education in the same term as what being put forward in the literature. Interestingly, the finding also revealed that there were a few respondents whose idea and responses were different from those respondents mentioned above. However, the number was slightly smaller compared with the group of respondents who link it to business-related activities. These few respondents thought that entrepreneurship education is about developing students' attitude, and entrepreneurship education is more than just a business. Okay, another important finding is the mismatch over the entrepreneurship education concept between some respondents at the Ministry of Education. This study revealed that teachers showed that 20 of them responded that they had carried out the activity according to their own understanding, which is more akin to business-related activities. And as far as they were concerned, when they have developed their teaching activities to the concept, as they understood, they considered that the task had been carried out. One reason for this mismatch could be that teachers were different from concept introduced by the ministry. What ministry emphasized was not a business-type approach, but it focused on developing entrepreneurial characteristics, attitudes and cultures, and also on developing and forming students' mind and thinking skills. Okay, the second finding is that positive towards the change. Even though there was a mismatch of understanding, but from this research, what I could find out is all these respondents are positive toward the change. Okay, the officers said the implementation was assessed as positive at this new curriculum focused more on children's development, whilst the objective was seen as providing students with skill for the future. And the officer added that the State Education Department had supported the curriculum changes and the implementation of the new curriculum, so as the district education, because the implementation is the government transformation plan. Okay, and the teachers, for them, further finding from this interview with the teachers and the head teachers agreed that the change was good. Teachers were convinced that the element would benefit their student, and these teachers saw the change as an opportunity to develop entrepreneurship values in students. The head teachers, definitely they are the implementers as a government workers. They basically agreed that the change was good. And the finding from all the interviews have shown that the majority of the respondents agreed that the change was a good thing, but there were some who disagreed. It is common to have this in any curriculum implementation, as what Fing and Stoll had said that resistance is a natural and predictable response. Those who are agreed refused to incorporate the element into the curriculum and claimed that they could not see the benefit of the change. They also complained that the change had not contributed anything to education and suggesting that, in fact, they were burdened. Many scholars have argued to ensure the success of educational change, teacher must have two important factors, the moral purpose and the change agentry. This has to stand together as a good foundation for successful change. And Gitlin and Margunis argued that most of the literature on the theme of school change suggested that successful reform engaged teachers in the reform process. However, they also considered the positive aspect of teachers and resistance. So having teachers resisting change is not a bad thing after all. When teachers resist change, we can talk to them and try to understand the reason for their resistance and take action to improve the change. And as for conclusion, my research showed an interesting finding pertaining to respondents' understanding of the concept. It seems that for them, the entrepreneurship education is widely acceptable by teachers, although there are some resistance and differences in understanding. Nonetheless, it is a normal thing in changes of curriculum. This is exploratory case study. It should be noted that this study does not test or generate any theories, but involve in investigating the question of what is happening and why. And with that, thank you and stay safe.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation on entrepreneurship education in Malaysia primary school. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.